Hi dear friends, and beloved greetings from the Andalusian mountains again. Today I want to talk about these so-called health mandates, propagated by the World Health Organization and the governments of our world. If you've been watching movies and series and following the popular culture in the last couple of decades, you would have noticed that healthy people have been ridiculed, mocked, made fun of. You know, people who decline, fast foods, who don't binge, who don't indulge in excessive alcohol usage, who really are quite responsible in the way that they eat. They eat really nutritious, healthy food. They have exercise regime. They go into nature. People who have a really health-giving lifestyle. This kind of individuals in our popular culture have been deemed as insufferable, serious individuals who just can't enjoy life. Come on, doesn't matter, just have some meat, it's good for you. Have the whole rib. Yeah, have another pizza. That's considered normal. Gluttony is glorified. Alcohol binging is normal. But now, us freely breathing, healthy, peaceful individuals who've invested a lot of our time and energy and resources into looking after our health, making sure that our immune systems are thriving. Now we are being deemed as the problem that needs to be controlled, confined, and forcefully masked. The people like myself who have no symptoms, no infection, no disease in the body, are believed to be the spreaders of a deadly virus, are believed to be responsible for killing the vulnerable and elderly people of our society. This is utter madness. What happened if we actually started holding people accountable for their actions, for their lifestyle choices, for their foods, for their medicines? What if we held accountable people who drive their immune systems down day after day, who actively abuse their bodies and willingly consume poison, food that is not fit for human consumption? Is anyone demanding these individuals to stop making bad dietary and lifestyle choices? Is anyone educating them on how to actually prevent illness and put that knowledge into practice in their everyday life? No. The answer is no. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your health. Why should they? Anyway, it's a personal responsibility, right? You have the freedom to choose what you eat. So you see, it makes absolutely no sense to suddenly say, your sickness is caused by that person there. Especially if the person who's sick has done absolutely nothing to care for themselves for decades. The COVID narrative claims that the government cares about our health. An institution that literally bombs women, children, and men of other ethnicities, who tears their countries and cultures apart. You believe this heartless machine of control, this cult of violence, cares about your health? Anybody's health, for that matter? Of course they don't. What absurd naivety. Or to believe that the way to prevent illness is to mandate masks, criminalize free breathing, force people into isolation, into house arrest practically, and to enforce these distancing measures to stay away from other people. Does that really sound like the way to heal, the way to generate health? It's just sheer totalitarian control and nothing more. If our governments were actually lawful councils of representatives, individuals who actually had the integrity and trust of us, this world would look very, very different. You know, right now, if let's say I was the health minister of Finland and there was a rumor of a deadly pandemic, what would I do? I would make sure that the virus, first of all, has been isolated and purified according to the scientific postulates that exist. I would make sure that there definitely is a virus and that this virus is the cause of the illness. Well, this, of course, has never been done yet. So the government is failing massively to begin with. Second of all, I would make sure that everyone knows what health actually is. You know, I'd explain to people that just like our cars, our bodies also need the right fuel. If you put the wrong fuel in the tank, the engine will begin to deteriorate very rapidly. But the human organism is so phenomenally adaptive that it can actually go for thousands of miles with the wrong fuel. But let's not fool ourselves into thinking that just because the engine is still going, there wouldn't be problems and serious problems developing underneath. You see, our cells literally form from the food and the energy that we give it. So if we are constantly malnourished because we don't eat living vegetables and fruits, but nutritionally dead food, is it any wonder that the tissues of our body and our organs become weak and prone to illness and dysfunction? How can our bodies regenerate themselves into a thriving organism of supreme vitality if the material with which it must do so is death and decay, an artificial, genetically modified, processed substance that is not even food, that's not fit for human consumption? How can you create a garden out of a junkyard? You know, if the authorities actually cared about our health, they would educate us about the importance of doing regular maintenance, just like we do with our cars and our bikes. They teach us how important it is to do enemas and colonic hydrotherapies, for example, to clean our guts from old, putrefied and calcified feces and waste and phlegm that's lodged onto the creases of our intestines. Because you know, when they get stuck there, our body begins to seriously suffer. Did you know, for example, that 90% of the serotonin is actually produced in the gut? And we wonder, why do we have an epidemic of depression? Well, one of the reasons surely is that we are full of shit. Literally, putrefying, calcified feces of decades of bad diet lodged into our intestines. And since in our culture it is habitual to eat all day long, snack all day long, and never truly give a break for our bodies to digest the food, then we are constantly pushing through undigested food or badly digested food without our bodies being able to absorb all the nutrients out of that. You see? If we tax our system, continuously putting it on overtime and feeding it with poison, is it any wonder that at some point it begins to crash down? This is why we need to fast and do cleanses, to give our bodies time to heal and regenerate. And this is why we also need to go into nature so that we can breathe fresh air and all the fragrances of the plants that are in the air, so that we have that connection to the living world, to our true home. Because when we are put into these artificial urban cities and totally severed from the natural world, food is the last remaining contact to it. And that's why we binge, because we are desperate to feel connected to Earth, into nature. So you see, it's absolutely clear that these health mandates are the greatest inversion of all time. They do the absolute opposite of what they claim to be doing. They don't give protection. They create desperation, fear, separation. And another element of this grand inversion is the fact that people who are now standing up for human rights and protecting our species against totalitarian control and tyranny are being called delusional, selfish, even sociopathic and dangerous people. In the past, we would have been recognized to be noble, true humanitarians who are willing to put their life on the line to guard the sacred essence of humanity for the next generations to come. But now, in this era of post-truth, where everything is literally upside down, we're being made into traitors of humanity. I seriously hope our human family will wake up soon from this nightmare, from this dystopian world dreamed up by a gang of psychopaths. The spell needs to break right now. And if you can see through this illusion and this gaslighting, then you are part of the solution. But remember, the knowledge alone is not enough to change reality. We have to put the knowledge into action. So let's start educating people. Keep sharing the message day after day, just like they are continuously putting out the lies. We have to continuously share the truth. Much love to you all.